Greetings, fellow Gravewalkers, and welcome back to another video. And finally, we're back to the core mechanics of Shadow of War. Feels like I haven't talked about this stuff since the dinosaurs. I think it was June with regional changes, since Purple O-Logs doesn't really count as a core feature, but you read the title. Today we're talking about traits, classes, and tribes. So, let's get into it. Just to cite sources, most of the info on the traits themselves is from the Shadow of War fandom page. If any info is incorrect, it will be amended, but down to that page to change their articles. So to start, classes are the fundamentals of an orc. It determines their weapons and what class traits they can have. Archers and savages have very different fighting styles and therefore different traits. Savages have their savage counter, blocking attacks from the front unless stunned, frozen, or dazed, whereas archers can have explosive shot. And those are just basic classes. On top of these, there are advanced classes. These are the ones most players will recognize. Tanks, assassins, and berserkers are the best examples of advanced classes. Tribes are also core mechanics for orcs. This will dictate their general demeanor, what tribe-specific armor they can wear, gives them a special tribe weapon, and even blocks or allows them to have certain titles. Traits are special modifiers that make orcs unique from a gameplay perspective. Anyone who's played for more than 5 minutes know they change the way we fight orcs in general. Some are immune to stealth, others can be killed instantly with fire, others still may be enraged by executions, and some might have all three. Some orcs can be nearly unkillable due to their traits, so let's get into trait types. Different trait types do different things. Don't need rocket science for that, so we're going to go left to right in the dossier. On the left, we have immunities. These are abilities that won't affect an orc at all. These are all the possible immunities: arrow-proof, beast-proof, fire-proof, frost-proof, immune to curse, immune to executions, poison-proof, and vigilant to stealth. These are the most powerful abilities for orcs, as it completely removes an item from your arsenal when facing them. The strongest ones being immune to executions, arrow-proof, and frost-proof, as these remove your 3 strongest abilities, with fire and poison taking close second, followed by beasts and stealth, ending with the useless curse. But this is from a player v orc battle perspective. Orc v Orc will favor being immune to elements and beasts. Next we have hates. Most orcs will have 1 or 2 things that make them mad, but the Berserker Advanced class can have up to 7. So I don't have to amend this in the comments, I'm going to pop in right now and say it. What I said here isn't fully true. Any orc can have 7 hates, it's just that Berserkers orc per orc have more hates on a general basis. An enraged orc attacks quickly without pause, chasing you or other orcs down. They cannot be stunned or frozen, nor will they be broken on low health until it wears off, but their rage can be cut short by being dazed. There are a multitude of things from very, very weird to generic that can enrage an orc. So, here's the full list on screen right about now. There's so many that I don't really want to read them all off, but I will tell you the best ones. These are enraged by everything: acrobatics, execution, frost, and injury. These enrages will be the most useful in a player v orc battle. In orc v orc, any elemental and Caragor related ones will be the most useful, especially if it aligns with their immunities. Enraged by injury and enraged by everything will always be useful no matter the situation. The next section is class traits, which is where most of an orc's battle characteristics are found. This is what determines their weapons, classes, specials, and pretty much everything else important. So let's start. At the top of the section is their advanced class. Advanced classes are a major determining factor for an orc's arsenal. These are commanders, tanks, assassins, destroyers, marksmen, tricksters, slayers, berserkers, beastmasters, and trackers. Each of these advanced classes gives them access to special weapons and abilities, so let's start with commanders. Commanders cause nearby orcs to fight harder and not retreat. They have 3 special abilities. There are war banners that are placed into the ground that cause grunt orcs to become enraged and can be destroyed with an arrow or sword attack to remove the effect. Next is call reinforcements. In combat, they'll blow into a horn, summoning grunts to help him. And lastly, there is dying command. Upon his death, all grunts in the nearby area will become enraged and attempt to avenge their leader. Next advanced class is the tank. Tanks have increased health, and when seemingly dealt with, they will enter a Nemesis finisher camera only to reveal they're not done yet, and get back up to fight with death defying. This ability is undoubtedly an annoying one, but is far from the worst advanced class ability from an objective point of view. Their special abilities are Wave of Might. They'll send out a shockwave in all directions with a roar. This will stun other orcs, making it pretty useful in orc v orc situations. And the second is Determination. They'll heal themselves by a good amount, but this ability can be interrupted, meaning they'll either need luck or a gang to defend them while they do it. Assassins are quick little buggers who will sneak around and like to ambush you. They also are more likely to turn around and catch you trying to sneak up on them. The Assassin has 3 possible traits, starting with Agile. This trait is what makes them the roly-polies we all know them as. They'll dodge, roll, and vault around you. They also have Throwing Knives. These are dangerous if hit by them, but easy to avoid. And lastly, they have a far higher chance of having no chance. This is the Assassin's true strength, considering Throwing Knives are almost useless. Next up are Destroyers. These orcs have a love for destroying things with fire and gunpowder, using bombs, grenades, and mines when fighting. Around a destroyer, you'll find mines placed nearby. All explosives used by the destroyer will take on the effects of their elemental weapon, making them cursed or poison. Their abilities mimic their love with sappers, orcs strapped with bombs to work like suicide grunts from Halo. They run up to you or other orcs and explode, lighting the area on fire and causing high damage to everything nearby, though not taking on any elements. And Final Blast. Upon their death, they'll drop a bunch of bombs as a martyrdom that's also affected by their elemental weapon, causing either a Final Blast, Final Venom, or Final Curse. Destroyers also have 2 bonuses they can have, both of or only one of, called Bombs and Mines. These are the throwable and placeable ones they'll use in combat, and they'll take on the Destroyer's elemental weapon. This goes for all classes, as any class can have bombs and mines. It's just that Destroyers will always have at least one of them. Marksmen are next, and marksmen may always have crossbows, but not every crossbow has a marksman. This class has increased range and accuracy, along with dealing more damage. These are among the rarer advanced classes due to only being on archers, but their abilities are definitely worth getting one. Them being Power Shot, a powerful bolt that does good damage and stuns enemies, Quick Shot, allowing them to reload and fire incredibly fast, and Explosive Shot, a rarer but immensely powerful ability that causes an extremely powerful explosion. They also have a bonus named Sniper Shot that allows them to fire at great distances without missing, dealing high damage. You'll know an orc has Sniper Shot if you see the telltale orange beam that shows who they're aiming at, and the ballista-esque firing sound. Tricksters are the next annoyance, being my least favorite advanced class due to them being fast and good at avoiding damage. These orcs use unnatural movement to confuse their enemies, often dodging and pulling you around. I recommend frost or stunning attacks and pinning them to hold them still long enough, or using your glaive if you have enough time to charge it. They will also sometimes, in a nemesis finisher, escape using a tricky escape. These orcs only have 2 visible traits, which are smoke bombs that allow them to disappear and reappear in different places, not too powerful, and decoys. These are orcs dressed up like the captain they follow, but are very easy to suss out since they die immediately to headshots and executions like any other grunt. Once again, not really useful. Arguably the best thing about Tricksters is their agility and powers of misdirection that in most situations will get the upper hand on inexperienced players who haven't mastered the toolkit yet or haven't unlocked the most useful abilities. I should also probably mention that decoys are a bonus and not in the class traits section, and any orc can have decoys. It just comes down to the fact that Tricksters have them far more often than any other class. After that rant about Tricksters, we have Slayers. This class with the right immunities can be downright criminal. They excel when facing you one-on-one, allowing their most powerful abilities to do the work. Their first special trait is Triple Strike, a powerful 3-hit combo that can cause high damage if you're not paying attention. Next, they have Fast Learner. All orcs can adapt after enough time, but Fast Learner fast tracks that process. They can adapt to vaulting and executions after only 3 or 4 times getting hit by them, meaning they can quickly take away parts of your arsenal. This can be compounded by the right base class and immunities. Immune to elements and arrows, and being a savage can very quickly narrow down your options. Throw in their third trait, Slayer Counter, and you have a monster on your hands. Slayer Counter is a bonus Slayers can gain from being upgraded to Epic or Legendary, allowing them to respond to front-on executions with a high damage counterattack, taking another piece of your arsenal out, and they can respond to front-facing executions even after adapting, meaning none from the back with no penalty, and none from the front with a high penalty. Overall, these orcs are a welcome addition to your army. The next advanced class is probably the best in most situations, that being Berserkers. This class is capable of having up to 7 hates and has 5 traits, 2 of them being only available to Berserkers of a specific basic class. These orcs deal high damage exceptionally quickly, and even have a minor lifesteal effect. To start, we have Furious Charge. An orc will charge at an enemy, tackling them to the ground and punching them twice in the head for high damage. Next is Rabid. This is a battle cry attack that stuns enemies and makes some grunts flee. Rampage is the next trait. This trait will make them take no pause when attacking. Friend and foe alike will be cut down if too close. Lastly, we have the 2 basic class traits. Berserkers of the Savage basic class will have Flying Axes. With this trait, they chuck their axes forward, damaging all in their path before returning to him. The other is for the Defender basic class, called Shieldquake, where he'll slam his shield into the ground, sending enemies flying and stunning them. Overall, I consider Defender and Savage Berserkers among the strongest orcs you can have in the entire game, for obvious reasons. Next up is Beastmasters. These orcs are the friends of Mordor's beasts. For this reason, wild beasts will not attack them and are equipped with 2 special traits. These being Caragor Tamer, allowing them to convert both wild Caragors and ones you've dominated to his side, and Bestial Roar. This roar calls Caragors to help him fight, heals all allied beasts, and compelling beasts to attack who he wants. They can also have the Drake Lure trait. This trait is much rarer compared to the rest, and lets them summon a Drake. There are also title-specific Beastmaster traits. These are Spider Summoner for the Of the Spiders title, and Matron Scent for the Ghoul Lover title. They are also more likely to have a couple of bonuses. These are Caragor Rider and Caragor Pack. Legendary Beastmasters may have the dire versions of both. Epic and Legendary Beastmasters can also have the bonus Epic Graug Call, allowing them to call a Graug to fight with them. They are also more likely to have Beast Slayer, allowing them to quickly dispatch the beasts of Mordor. And lastly, we have Trackers. Trackers will hunt you down if you're nearby and call in hunters to come fight you. They have 3 traits: Master of the Hunt, Trapper, and Harpoon Gun. Master of the Hunt allows him to sound his horn when he's caught your trail to get nearby orcs to assist him. Trapper allows them to toss traps down that clench around both yours and other orcs' legs. Harpoon Gun is interesting, since it only shows up on O-logs of the Tracker class. They'll fire a harpoon at you and reel you in, all while dealing decent damage. Overall, the Tracker is among the weaker advanced classes, making them far from my first choice. Though if on the right orc, it won't really make things too bad for them. Though I still wouldn't recommend it over Berserker or pretty much anything else on the list. Now that advanced classes are done, we move to their tribe bonuses. Tribe bonuses are special weapons granted from their tribe. Some of these you'll be very familiar with, while others are kinda useless. So let's start with Marauders. The Marauder tribe bonus is called a Hail of Bolts, and is rather easy to spot. They'll put their weapons away and pull out 2 crossbows, firing multiple bolts that deal decent damage and stun enemies. I would consider this to be in the top 3 best tribe bonuses, just out of the sheer speed of it and the utility of it. The Warmonger tribe bonus is called Warmonger Clash. They'll lock your sword in place with their gauntlets, requiring you to be quick and break free, or be hit for extra damage. This one's a little bit tricky, but all around shouldn't be too hard to get out of. The Terror tribe bonus is Terror Chains. They'll take out 2 long chains with hooks on the ends, slashing everything caught in their path. This one you're more than likely going to see mostly from their kill animations, rather than actually getting hit with it, because in my experience, they just body all their gang members without really hitting you. So, that one's up for debate. For the Dark tribe, there's Dark Strikes. The orc will use 2 curved blades to deal a series of quick attacks that have to be countered, lest you get hit with this damaging attack. This one, I do admit, is very difficult to avoid due to how fast you have to be on hitting the command prompts when it's, doing the quick time thing. You're going to do X and Y and B to not get hit, because they are very fast, and if you mess up, it will hurt, especially if you're on Gravewalker and Brutal difficulty. Ferals have Feral Claws, massive claws built into their gauntlets. They'll tackle you to the ground, slashing at you for high damage. Avoiding this attack is very much advised, and you should be able to see it coming. Hopefully. The Machine tribe has their Machine Hook. This ability lets them throw a chained hook at an enemy, then pulling them in, dealing high damage. This one you don't really get hit with too often, and again you've most likely seen from their kill animations, but I do admit it can still be a little bit scary. The Outlaws have their Outlaw Bolas. These are thrown at enemies and wrap around them, holding the target in place for easy attacks. These I have been hit by because they have quite a large AoE on them, and they definitely suck to get nailed by. And lastly are the Slaughter Cleavers. The Slaughter Tribe love their meat tools and throwing them. Orcs of the Slaughter Tribe will toss 4 cleavers at their enemies. These cleavers deal decent damage and stun enemies, but are functionally the same as the Marauder Tribe's Hail of Bolts. And that is true. It is functionally the same as Hail of Bolts, just a little bit different. But I would still rather have a Marauder Orc with Hail of Bolts over a Slaughter Orc with their cleavers, but that's my opinion. Moving on. And lastly for this section, we have the Orc's basic class. These are the same classes that Grunt Orcs use. These are Warrior, Archer, Defender, Savage, Hunter, and Ologs. Ologs are their own special class with different attacks and combos. Ologs also do not gain any tribe bonuses, and not all class traits will be applied to them. Ologs are also unable to become marksmen as well, since they cannot use crossbows. Which, may I say, is just an injustice. I want to see these lumbering trolls with handheld ballistas or cannons. Heck, they already have the harpoon gun and fire thrower. It wouldn't have been that hard, would it? Moving on. Next we have bonuses. These are extra modifiers, some of which you can actually choose to give your orcs with Mirian through training orders. So here's the list on screen right about now. None of these are really better than others, they just increase the lethality of some orcs. Beast Slayer, Gangs, and Fire and Poison weapons are definitely in your best interest though, as 3 out of 4 of those you can give them yourself with Mirian. There are also a handful of epic traits under the bonuses section. A lot of these are more powerful versions of the advanced class traits, and will sometimes replace the basic version when upgraded to epic and legendary. And others are special additions to your orc that just make them or their gang more powerful. Here's the list of those right now. None of these traits are actually bad, unlike the regular bonuses where some are useless, like cursed weapons. But the best ones are the elite gangs, epic rage, great strength, thick-skinned, poison and fire master, the slayer counter, and any mighty class, especially if their gang is that class. What's even more potent is an elite gang powered up by a mighty class. This goes for player v orc and orc v orc. This ends orc strengths. Now we move to weaknesses. Oh goody. The next section is mortal weaknesses. These are things that will either instantly kill an orc or make them immediately flee in terror. These are always a net negative, and sometimes they can be lost through leveling up, though rarely, and can be gained after enough shaming, like with Zune here.
Did I manage to graze you at least? You'll know soon enough when you lose control of your muscles, your lungs, your bowels.
There isn't any that I can say are any worse than the rest though, since they're all really terrible, but executions, arrows, and fire are definitely the absolute worst possible, and basically label an orc as useless. Elemental and beasts are also the worst in Orc v Orc for rather obvious reasons. Moving on, we have weaknesses. These are things that deal high damage to orcs and can make them pushovers depending on which one. The worst are soft target and vulnerable to executions. These can mean an orc immediately melts in a fight. As for least damaging, we have stealth, beasts, and clumsy. These still aren't preferable, but are still better than the alternatives. Next is dazed by. These are things that daze orcs. Dazed orcs will be unable to attack and all immunities nullified. It will also bring enraged orcs out of their rage. Being dazed makes an orc a sitting duck just waiting to get attacked, meaning there's some bad ones to avoid having. The worst are fear of pinning, fear of execution, soft-headed, fear of the Gravewalker, and fear of burning or poison. The forgivable ones are the hard ones to exploit, like stealth, brutality, shaken master, and demoralized. The last section is just tips for what attacks they can be damaged by. This section doesn't really mean anything since every other section already covers it. In this section, I'm going to talk about specific traits and bonuses and what they mean for an orc's name plaque. So once again, left to right, the far left side directly under their name will display 3 distinctions. These are fiery, poisonous, and cursed. These are the orc's elemental weapons. Fire and poison are far better than curse in nearly every situation. Next is their tribe. If they have no elemental weapons, it will display under their name instead. Tribes will dictate certain armors that an orc can and will have, like Slaughter always having skin and gore incorporated into their designs, whereas Marauders will always have gold or silver pieces. Next will be their class. If they are an advanced class, it will display here. If not, it will be their basic class. And lastly, there may be parentheses with either epic or legendary written inside. If an orc has an epic trait, it will display as epic and may be gained by leveling up or spawning with it. Legendary is for orcs who have 2 epic traits, though with a glitch you can make it 3. You cannot simply give an orc 2 epic training orders to achieve this, however. To obtain legendary, there are a few ways, starting with a training order. This is called legendary training and is the first one on the bottom row. You can obtain these through either spoils of war chests, which are gotten from winning online sieges, or buying one with 20,000 Mirian. This is quite a lot, but not wholly unreasonable. Every piece of legendary gear at level 80 can be destroyed for 1,340 Mirian. And online sieges, in my opinion, for the best way to get Mirian, there are 6 checkpoints with a war chief who can be legendary, and 2 bodyguards who can be legendary, along with the overlord and his 2 bodyguards, who can all be legendary, leaving 21 possible pieces of legendary gear, meaning an online siege where all named orcs are legendary can get you a legendary of your own. And even if they aren't legendary, they will still drop gear that can be destroyed for Mirian, though much less. But training orders aren't the only way to get legendary orcs. There are some orcs who will always be legendary no matter what. These are the legendary scars. There's already tons of videos by other creators like Uruk's Hollow who have gone over every legendary scar, so if you want to know them, you know where to go. Legendary scars are special orcs who have cheated death from specific nemesis finishers. This includes the Stitch Olog, an Olog who appears after decapitating an Olog, the Machine, an orc cleaved in 2, and the Beast, an Olog killed by beasts. These titles will always return as legendary, but can only be created once per playthrough, making them 1 per go. The next overlaps with the original point. In online sieges, you will encounter orcs who will be legendary, and rather than kill them like point 1 says, you can always just recruit them and place them into your army on the garrison screen. This is a far better way of getting strong legendary orcs if that's all you're going after. Another way is the online fight pit. This will place your overlord from whatever region you're in into a fight with another player's overlord. If your overlord wins enough, he will be promoted to epic and then legendary. But be warned, death in the pit is death for good, unless they come back seeking a vengeance. Even worse is they'll face stronger and stronger overlords as they win, making achieving legendary this way very difficult, since you'll likely be starting with an orc who isn't very strong at all. Overall, I consider this the worst way, since you'll actively be gambling with your overlord's life. And remember, the house doesn't always just win, sometimes.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
And the last way is orcs randomly just being legendary. It is rare, but it does happen where a generic random captain is legendary from the jump. And that covers orc tribes, classes, and traits. For new or returning players, this should be enough to get a grip on what these screens mean, and for experienced players, a jog to their memories. The goal of this video was to explain what all this means to someone who's not completed the game and may be looking for tips on what to look out for and potential followers, not go super in-depth into every single possible combination to murder your enemies. Though a video of what setup works best could be a decent idea for the future. But that brings us to the end. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to the like button down below, it really helps me out a ton, and if you like what I do, don't forget to subscribe for more. And with that, I will see you all next time.